On a crisp fall evening in 1953, experienced Air Force pilot Lieutenant Felix Moncla was dispatched from Kinross Air Force Base in Michigan to intercept an unidentified radar contact over Lake Superior. His F-89 Scorpion, a cutting-edge jet of the era, ascended into the darkening skies on what was supposed to be a standard intercept mission. He was joined by radar operator Second Lieutenant Robert Wilson. It was a mission they had completed dozens of times. There was no indication this one would be any different, but it was. Moments after takeoff, ground radar tracked Moncla's jet as it closed in on the unknown aircraft. Then, suddenly, the radar image of Moncla's jet merged with the unidentified blip. And then, nothing. No trace of the F-89, no mayday call, no wreckage, no survivors. Just a silent screen. What followed was a search effort unlike any before. The U.S. Air Force launched a full-scale recovery operation. Canadian aircraft joined the search. Boats scoured the freezing waters of Lake Superior, but not a single piece of debris was ever recovered. The Air Force's official explanation? The radar contact was a Canadian cargo plane flying off course, and Moncla likely crashed into the lake while pursuing it. The Canadian government, however, denied any such aircraft was in the area. So what really happened that night? Did Lieutenant Moncla's jet collide with another aircraft? Was it shot down? Or was it something else? Something no military report could explain? This is the story of the Kinross Incident, a tale of one man's disappearance that evolved into one of the most persistent aviation mysteries in American history. A case where military silence, conflicting reports, and unexplained radar data have fed decades of speculation. And perhaps a story that hints at something far stranger. Official documents filed in the wake of Moncla's disappearance raised more questions than answers. The Air Force issued a public statement saying the radar contact was later identified as a Royal Canadian Air Force (RCAF) C-47 cargo plane. According to them, Moncla must have suffered spatial disorientation during the pursuit and crashed into Lake Superior. But that explanation didn't hold up under scrutiny. In a press release issued just days after the incident, the Canadian government explicitly denied that any of their aircraft had been in the area. A representative from the RCAF stated that no planes were scheduled, dispatched, or known to be flying anywhere near the radar contact zone on the night in question. Further complicating the narrative, internal Air Force memos, obtained years later through Freedom of Information Act requests, showed contradictory language. One document labeled the radar target as unidentified, while another claimed it was believed to be a Canadian aircraft. None confirmed it definitively. And what about the radar merger, the moment when Moncla's F-89 appeared to physically intersect with the unknown blip before disappearing? Some radar technicians at Kinross, who later spoke anonymously, described the moment as unprecedented. Two blips merged, and only one reappeared briefly, before vanishing entirely. No wreckage, no oil slick, no distress signal. Even stranger were the inconsistencies in communication logs. Audio tapes from the night of the incident, supposedly routine in protocol, were either lost or reported to be blank. Flight logs contained time gaps. One page of Moncla's mission file was completely redacted. His wife, Donna Moncla, was never given a conclusive explanation. Instead, she received a folded flag, a condolence letter, and silence. As the years went by, rumors grew. Some believed the F-89 had collided with an enemy aircraft. Others speculated it was a test flight gone wrong, hidden under a cover story. But a growing number of people, especially those fascinated with the era's rising number of UFO sightings, pointed to something much stranger. Could Moncla have intercepted a craft that didn't belong to any known nation? The 1950s marked the dawn of a new era: jet propulsion, nuclear power, and a cultural obsession with the skies above. It was also the age of the unidentified flying object. UFO reports were on the rise, and government agencies were scrambling to manage both public fear and military secrecy. When news of Lieutenant Moncla's disappearance reached civilian ears, it didn't take long before the UFO theories emerged. After all, what kind of aircraft merges with another on radar, then vanishes entirely? The Kinross Incident quickly became a fixture in UFO lore. Enthusiasts and researchers pointed to similarities between Moncla's case and other intercept missions that ended in mystery or silence. One such researcher, Donald Kehoe, a retired Marine Corps major and a prominent UFO investigator, included the Kinross case in his 1955 book, The Flying Saucer Conspiracy. Kehoe argued that Moncla's jet had not collided with a conventional plane, but with something unknown, possibly even extraterrestrial. His theory, while sensational, found an eager audience during an era when belief in alien visitation was reaching new heights. The U.S. Air Force, meanwhile, was deep into Project Blue Book, the military's official investigation into UFO phenomena. Records later released from Blue Book confirmed that Moncla's disappearance was logged but dismissed with the same standard language: pilot error, probable crash, no unusual elements. Still, there were inconsistencies even in the Blue Book entry. Dates were confused, aircraft types were mislisted, and references to the radar merger, the very heart of the mystery, were omitted altogether. Some theorists believe this wasn't accidental. They suggest the Air Force had something to hide. Not necessarily alien contact, but perhaps a top-secret aircraft test, one that went wrong and was subsequently buried under layers of bureaucratic fog. Others insist the incident was part of a broader pattern, pilots sent to intercept unknown objects only to vanish without a trace. Similar stories emerged in Europe, the Arctic, and over the Pacific. But Kinross remained one of the few with such detailed radar records and such total silence. The mystery deepened in 2006, when amateur divers claimed to have found wreckage matching an F-89 at the bottom of Lake Superior. Excitement surged, but was quickly quelled when the object turned out to be a different aircraft, down during training decades later. To this day, no verified trace of Moncla's jet or of the unknown radar contact has ever been recovered, and that leaves only the questions: why was there no emergency call? Why was the radar data incomplete? Why did two governments issue conflicting reports and then go silent? And if it wasn't an ordinary plane out there over Lake Superior that night, what was it? In every mystery, there are two stories: the public one, told in headlines and files, and the private one, held in the hearts of those left behind. Lieutenant Felix Moncla's disappearance wasn't just a footnote in a Cold War defense report. It was a life stolen from a family, a community, a country. His wife, Donna, was 26 when he vanished. They had just celebrated their son's 3rd birthday weeks earlier. She received the news by telegram: missing, during routine flight operations. For days, she waited by the phone. Then came the folded flag, the formal letter, the condolences. But never a clear explanation. Donna never remarried. She raised their son alone, always keeping a framed photo of Felix by the mantel. Every year on November 23rd, the day he disappeared, she placed flowers by the lake. His parents, too, fought quietly for answers. They wrote letters, filed requests, pleaded with senators. Each time, they were met with formality and silence. To this day, no one from the Air Force has ever publicly acknowledged what really happened that night. For the residents of Michigan's Upper Peninsula, the Kinross Incident became part of local lore, a ghost story told across generations. Hunters claimed to see strange lights over the lake. Fishermen reported bizarre compass interference. And every so often, someone would say they heard jet engines in the distance, where none should be. But beyond the speculation and sightings is something far more human: the need to know. We tell these stories not because we expect an answer, but because the silence is unbearable, because someone, somewhere, knows something. And maybe, by repeating the story, by keeping the memory alive, we draw a little closer to the truth. Felix Moncla was a decorated pilot, a husband, a father, a man who answered a call and flew into the unknown, never to return. So if you find yourself near Lake Superior on a cold November night, look to the skies. And remember the pilot who vanished and the mystery that followed. Thank you for listening to Flight into Nowhere, the vanishing pilot of Lake Michigan. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you believe these stories deserve to be heard. Your support helps us bring light to those long lost in the dark.